Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage.
We're back, baby. You're so weird. JB.
What's up?
Not much. Just making it through, man. Taking each day on is what I say.
You're living your best life.
That's it. I'm bringing that energy all day, every day. At least what I tell myself because it keeps me going.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
What's been on your sort of radar? What have you been coming up with lately? Doing, thinking?
I've been working a lot. We have got season tickets to the LSU women's basketball games this year.
Yeah, I've never been to a women's basketball game.
They're fun. They're really fun.
Season ticket holder.
Yeah, season ticket. Well, we got them. We got them this year because Kim Mulkey's our, new coach, and she is amazing. If I ever got to meet her, that would be even more amazing.
Wait, what's her name?
Kim Mulkey.
She sounds so familiar. My niece would be so embarrassed of me right now because she's big into sports. Emily loves hockey, plays hockey, ice hockey in Canada, but she knows everything. Basketball. If it's female, any athletes, she knows it all.
Well, Kim Mulkey was an All-American at Louisiana Tech, and then she got the job at Baylor. I think she won like 3 national championships at Baylor.
Wow.
And then LSU just hired her.
Yeah.
She's from South Louisiana, like Slidell or somewhere close around here. And
she's coming back home.
She's coming back home. She's amazing. She's in like 9 different Hall of Fames. She is just like my kind of person. Like I actually feel like we would be best friends if I could ever meet her, because
this might be a challenge. Ticket.
She went to Louisiana Tech. She's like an icon there.
And you coached at.
And I coached there.
Coach to coach.
And then she's in the Hall of Fame. I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh.
Like we are like.
You're meant to be friends.
We are.
Yeah.
And I have a really funny story because like when she moved to Baylor to Baton Rouge. She had to take the job, and I was like, I could be your realtor. Yeah. So I was like, no. Like so, I knew
that you miss 100% of all the shots you don't take. So
well, I didn't really have any way to get in contact with her, but I did have our parade home listed last year for $1.2 million.
Yeah.
And I knew what realtor was showing her around town. So I get this alert on my phone that this agent scheduled a showing, and I was like, oh my God, it's Kim Mulkey. She's gonna come look at this house. And the agent wanted to be there in like 15 minutes, and I was like, I have to be there for all the shows. I don't know if I can make it. Yeah. And so Brandon was like, I had somebody come into the office to do a buyer consultation, and he was like, just go. And so I was like, Jonathan, here, take this buyer, do the consultation, work with them. I've never met them before. And then I got over to the house and got all the lights turned on, and like she was gonna be coming over, and I was like all ready, and the buyer I was supposed to be meeting in the office, calls me, and I see this black SUV like pulling around, and I know it's them, and I was like, and he's like, I can't find the office. I was like, it's 9114 Jersey Highway. I kept trying to tell him, and he's like, I just see this or that. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not 914. Blah, blah, blah. And so here I see it, and they come by, and so I finally get him off the phone. Yeah. And I'm like standing at the door, like waiting for them to stop, and they just like roll right on past and just didn't even decide to come inside. And I was like so disappointed because I was gonna get to.
You should have walked us.
I should have, but the guy that was on the phone was calling me, and then it was just like it was terrible. But I came really close to meeting her and telling her we should be best friends, but
it's gonna happen.
It didn't really work out. So Kim Mulkey, if you ever hear this podcast,
everybody tag her.
I would really love to meet you.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Just imagine
I don't want to just meet her.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like have coffee with her.
Yeah.
Or take her to lunch.
Just
to get to know her.
Don't like, hey Kim, I really want to get to know you. Let me take you to lunch.
Yeah, like that's kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy. But
still, when you think like Hall of Fame, even for both of you guys, like, gosh, what it takes to get up there, to be that great at what you do.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to, I suppose, you have to have the basics down.
Yes.
Well,
that's exactly what I wanted to talk about today. The basics of life. And so the way that I kind of came up with this topic today was I had talked to a friend of mine, and I was like, I need a good topic for our podcast this week.
And if you guys ever have good topics, we're always open to hearing them. So be sure to comment. Let us know what else you guys would like to hear about.
Yeah. So I was like, what's on your mind? Like, what have you been thinking about? What's been on your mind? Like, what's going on in your life? And she was like, you know what? She said, I have like all these really big goals, and I had all these big goals for last year.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at the list of what I accomplished and what I didn't accomplish, like, it gives me anxiety. Like, all these things that I didn't accomplish from last year. She's like, it makes me very anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, even though I want to accomplish big things, I need to get back to just the basics.
Oh,
and so, I'm more of a sports fanatic than
mm-hmm.
you are, but I think that's what I heard growing up all the time, right? Is the basics, the fundamentals
mm-hmm.
in soccer, dribbling, passing, shooting, all of those things. If you can't do them well in a no-pressure situation, you're not going to do them well in a high-pressure situation. And so even the pros start out warming up with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And so that started making me think, like, what would I consider the basics of life?
Right.
And even though if you have really big dreams and really big goals in your life, like, do you have your fundamentals, your basics covered? And so I came up with 6 different basics of life. So first
one
one
is just life in general, not geared towards a specific goal.
Right. Just in life in general. And so the first one is give your best in everything that you do.
Ooh. No, I imagine that's probably a difficult one for a lot of us when you think about giving the best in everything that you do, because it's not every day that we're doing what we like.
What you love.
Yes. So it's much harder to give your best in every situation or in everything that you're doing, because how many of us out there are busy complaining about what we're doing rather than focusing on getting it done, because we feel like we should be doing something else or want to be doing something else, that you forget the job feels so much harder because you haven't got the basics right. You're either looking to jump onto the next level already, that you don't focus enough on your job to understand it,
Yeah, I mean, you have to, it goes back to that quote I always say, bloom where you're planted.
Yes.
Do the best job you can, mm-hmm. be the best at what you're doing, even if it's not where you want to end up, because mm-hmm. that's actually what's going to give you the opportunity. You never know where you're going to meet people, mm-hmm. how you're going to meet people, but if you're not giving it your all at what you do, they may not see the greatness in you.
Yes.
And I see that a lot with, like, have you ever gone to, like, a restaurant and somebody has given you, like, amazing service?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you're like, oh, you put your drink down and they're, like, right there to fill it up. Or, like, you have a question and they're right there. The food's perfect. Like, they don't check on you too many times, but then you're not, like, looking around for them, needing help. Like, they're, like, perfect, and they're personable, and they're just, like, I mean, to me, there's been many times that I've had that kind of experience and being like, hey, you need to be selling real estate.
Yeah.
Like I can help you like grow your life.
Yeah.
Like make more money, like change your world. And so you may not think
just
that
because of that customer service.
Yeah, so you may not think, like, you might be in a restaurant working or whatever, but you never know who you're serving coffee to or who you're waiting on or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
there was a story. He's a motivational speaker. I completely forgot his name right now. And it's one of those, you know, those YouTube motivational speakers that you hear and it's got the music. And he spoke of two guys back in the 80s who both lost their jobs. The only job that they went to a company and said, hey, we're looking for jobs. Can you hire us? And they said, well, we don't have money to pay anyone else extra, but if you want to work for us and just do what you can, and eventually when we can pay you, we will. One guy went for one day and he was like, no, I'm not having this. I'm going to try and this is not what I should be doing. I'm so much better than this. And the second guy volunteered. He would show up to work. He would either be early, be the last one to leave. But what was different about him is he put his all into it. He put everything that he could, learn everything from the lowest person on the job to the top person on the job. It so happens 8 months later, the manager, the general manager quit. And the first person they turned to was that guy who had been volunteering all his time, working all those hours, going the I'm not saying work all the hours, guys, but going the extra mile and really learning to understand the basics from someone who may be just at the first level of that job, of that company, understanding what they do, how they do it, moving on to the second, the third, all the way to the top. He qualified himself from understanding the basics.
Yeah. So, giving your best in everything you do, number one. Number two, don't let fear stop you. There's a great quote, and we are terrible at giving people credit for quotes, but I don't know.
If you hear your quote, let us know.
Give us your name and we'll give you credit. But I hear it all the time. Everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I coach some real estate agents on how to grow their business, and I have one agent that I love to death. And so we started talking about how she can get more listings. And so we went through this whole thing, getting expired listings and how she gets the phone numbers, and then what the long-term follow-up plan is.
Mm-hmm.
And we came up with this whole system.
Yeah.
And then it was okay, it's time to buy the software to get the numbers to make the calls. And it's week after week she's not buying it and not making the calls. We have spent a month or two getting this whole system ready and getting all these cards to mail out and getting this and that, and she just will not make these phone calls. And last week she finally bought the thing, and she is just terrified to make these calls. And I'm like, what is the problem? And nobody likes to make cold calls, right? But really, I've kind of trained my brain to say, what's the worst that could happen? What, they could yell at me, they could hang up the phone, but is that really that bad? If that's the worst thing that could have happened, that's really not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get her to and she knows, she's everything I want is on the other side of fear.
Mm-hmm.
But she's just so scared to make these calls. And so I was like, look, by next week, and tomorrow is her day with me, I was like, by next week you have to make 10 calls. Each call is worth $10. If you don't make 10 calls, you owe me an extra $100. And so I'm trying to do whatever I can to push her over, because once you see, once you dip your toe in that and you try it and you see it's not that bad, then you're oh, what was I scared of? And
I think there's fear at every stage. Whenever you're growing, trying something new, and thinking about it, have you ever thought that we actually learn fear as we grow? There was someone from Google, I think it was like a Google engineer or something like that, who was talking about entrepreneurship, people growing and developing, and they were saying how essentially by the time we reach our 20s, a lot of us have lost the mind to come up with new inventions, come up with new ideas, because we are afraid. They did an experiment. There was an experiment where they gave like children 20 different circles, and they said to kids, we want you to draw 20 different things in each one of these circles in, I think it was either a minute or 30 seconds. They gave it to a group of adults. After 5 circles, they stopped. They didn't complete all the circles. And then the children managed to fill every single circle, right? And it was that with adults, you're so worried about what you're putting in your circle and what people will think of your circle. Whereas children literally went in there, they may draw little crosses and a smiley face, an upside down face, but they haven't lost the ability to play. They're not fearful of somebody judging their circle.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And when you think about it, when you're a kid, that's how you really learn. That's how we grow and learn and experience life, because we're still inquisitive. We are not too fearful yet, I think. That's a good...
Yeah, like, what's that saying that people say, like, you just don't know what you don't know. Like, you don't, like, when you see some, like, athletes that are, like, crushing it as a rookie, and it's like, they don't know to be scared or nervous or fearful. Like, that in their mind, it hasn't even crossed their mind, where other people are like, oh, I have to go against this person, and they're scared, you know, like, so yeah, don't let fear stop you, because literally everything that you want in life is on the other side of that fear. So find a way to, like, face that fear and overcome it. So number 3, be a good person. I think we've lost this in this day and age. Just to be a good person. I tell Bailey that all the time. Like, just be a good person. Like, somebody drops something, pick it up. If somebody's coming through the door, hold the door. If somebody, you know, is having a bad day, spend a few minutes extra and check on them or talk to them. Like, just
it really doesn't hurt.
A good person.
It doesn't hurt to be a good person.
Give somebody a compliment.
Yeah.
Like,
can you imagine how much life each day would be if not even you, I'm not saying don't be a good person, but if you experience that from someone and you're surrounded by people who just are good people, the more you're surrounded, I feel like it would change you as a person if we were all good people, just to care so much more about each other and not always just think about ourselves,
right?
How we feel, what we want. What about the other person?
Yeah, and one thing that I've really been learning lately is just like, everybody gets up every day and they go to school or work or wherever they have to go, and they put on this face, but like, everybody is going through something, some untold thing. And so for you to just be a nice person, give somebody a compliment or help them out with something, or take a load off, like we've talked about this before, could really have a huge, like, something very, very small could have a huge impact on somebody that is going through something. Like, I have conversations with Bailey all the time about, like, Mean Girls, you know, like, middle school is hard. And, you know, some middle school girls are really, really mean. And I tried to explain to her that, like, you know, a lot of times people are mean because they're going through something at home or in another area of their life, and it's coming out. Their frustration and anxiety and stress is coming out in this way. And so, you know, all we can do is just be a good person, be nice to them, give them some grace, and understand that, you know, when you're having a bad day or going through something, you're going to need some grace. So,
and you know, I'm not going to lie, there are times I have to remind myself of that when I go through a drive-through. Oh my gosh, or it literally has to be, you know, and I don't know if some of you guys have had this, where you just get that customer service that makes you angry. It makes you so angry, you just want to get to the window and you know, that I've started this thing where you give the person a compliment when you get to the window, regardless of the service that they've given you. Give them a compliment. It's the hardest thing to do.
I'm gonna try
The
that.
hardest thing to do, because some of that service out there is poo. I'm really not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
And you can start to think, well, why are you even working this job, and why are you even doing this? But it's not your place to do that, because as you just said, you don't know someone's story. Everybody has a story.
Yeah. So just be a good person.
Yeah.
So number 4, do the right thing.
Oh, integrity.
Do the right thing. Sometimes doing the right thing is super hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I just encourage everybody, like I tell that to Bailey, like, she gets out of the car every day. These are some of the things that I tell her.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing. It's so much easier. It's hard to do at the moment, but it makes sometimes.
Yeah.
But it makes life a lot easier, and you'll come out in a better place.
And
so
when you have integrity, and when people can see that you have integrity, it makes it easier to trust you, and for them to, you know, it may be that next step in that job or whatever it is, but if you have that integrity, it takes you a long way.
yeah. So do the right thing. Be a good friend.
Yeah. I feel like most people don't know what a friend is, to be honest with you.
Well, what do you consider a friend?
I don't know. I don't have a definition for a friend. But like, you know, I remember at times in my life, I've asked my question if I have friends, or if I'm a friend to people who consider me their friend, but I don't consider them a friend. That sounds like a big tongue twister.
I understand what
Do
you're
you
saying.
see?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably that I don't know how to let somebody be my friend would be the answer to that.
I could see that with you.
Yeah. I don't know how to let somebody be my friend. I think I'm probably a person who, I feel like I'm a good friend. I feel like I'm a good friend, but I don't think I allow myself to have friends. Tell a lie. I mean, I know. I can name people who are my friends, but I think for the most part, you know how a lot of us are like, oh, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend. But I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's funny because the other day I was talking to one of our agents here at the office, and I was approached by another agent that wanted to come to our office, and part of my kind of role is to kind of screen people, kind of try to find out who they know, who we both know, like, are they a good fit? Will they fit in with us? Like, you know, yeah. So I was like, hey, you're friends with so-and-so on Facebook, and tell me about them. And he was like, I have 1,700 friends on Facebook, but I have like 5 friends, like 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So I think a friend is somebody that is there for you in the good times and the bad times, and when you need help, and when you're flying high. And it's like they're not only the person that's gonna like encourage you and cheer you on, but they're also the person that, like, when you're having the lowest of the low days, that they're gonna be there just to be there.
I 100% agree with that. I guess when I think back to when you just asked me, what do I consider, or what's my definition of a friend? When I think of my friends, they are not people I speak to every day. These are people who I'd call my friends. They're not people I speak to every day. But it may be 2 months that we spoke, and we will speak today, but it's almost like we spoke yesterday.
Yeah, you never missed
We may not have, they may have texted me 10 times and I haven't responded, but they know. If I needed something, these are people who I completely trust with their opinions. If I was down, I know I could say, hey, I need this. It wouldn't be questions asked. Whether or not they agree with it, they're going to be there.
Sure.
You know?
Okay, again, so I'm going to recap this, and we're going to talk about the last one. So basics of life: do your best in everything that you do. Don't let fear stop you. Be a good person. Do the right thing. Be a good friend. And last is just take care of yourself.
Oh, baby. Yes. And I think a lot of people don't think about that one, or don't think that one is very important.
Yeah. But if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Yeah.
And
we hear that, but we don't practice that.
Yeah.
We don't practice that. When I think about, I'm not firing any shots, friends. I'm not firing any shots out here. But, I've heard people say, high blood pressure runs in my family. I mean, like, of course, some of this can be familial, but a lot of it, or like even with diabetes and all these things, a lot of it also has to do with your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to do with your lifestyle, and far too many people die prematurely when they shouldn't, with diseases that are preventable. And we often don't think about it until it's too late and you're trying to treat the way you've been abusing yourself for the last 30 years, 40 years, When we're young, we feel very untouchable. It goes back to, remember that analogy I gave from my favorite Ryan Serhant, which was he ages a picture of himself, and every day when he goes through his daily life, he looks at this 8-year-old picture of himself and he says, even though I don't feel like doing whatever it is right now, this is why I'm doing it, because when I'm said age, I want to be healthy, I want to have this, and even if it's not about yourself, for those around you, if you're somebody with children, you're somebody with people who depend on you, if you don't take care of yourself, and if something is to happen to you, or you end up in a situation where they need to take care of you, what have you done to their life?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that was a little... Ooh,
you're getting deep.
I know. It's normally just positive vibes. I'm being positive, friends, and saying thank you.
So I just kind of feel like those are the basics of life. I feel like we all have big goals and big dreams, and of course, with those big goals and dreams, like we've got big tasks that we have to get done and we have to do, and they're big to-do lists and those kind of things. But I kind of feel like if you're doing these few things that we talked about, and you have the basics down, like you can always turn back to be good on your fundamentals. You're doing the right thing. You're being a good friend. You're taking care of yourself. Like if all of those things are in order, you're going to reach those big goals quicker and
more efficiently. The basics set the best foundation that you can build up on and build a strong structure on.
So that's all I got for you today.
Get back to basics, baby.
We'll see y'all next week, or talk to you next week.
Bye, friends.
Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.